Today's question is, I have met people who feel very connected, but who don't ever meditate. And I've met people who feel very disconnected, but who meditate daily. How do I reconcile that with my own practice? So I've met people who feel very connected, but who never meditate. And I've met people who meditate all the time, but feel very disconnected. How do I make sense of that with regard to my own meditation practice? So there's lots of ways that people come to understand what it is to meditate. A lot of times I see meditation taught and understood as sort of a system of mental control almost, like a way to discipline the mind, a way to have control over your thoughts and mental activity so that you can make it quiet when you want, you can think about what you want. But that's just a skill. That kind of meditation is probably creating something. It's probably changing the mind, the structure of the mind in a certain way. And someone who meditates that way will have more control because that's what they're practicing. But that control may not deepen that inward connectedness at all. It is very strange sometimes to see that there are people who meditate a lot and are very into meditation. And yeah, I've also had the same experience with some people that I think, oh wow, okay, you meditate a lot, but I don't feel it. I'm not feeling that consciousness arising in you, that life. Sometimes it's confusing to see that and think, well, why isn't that just coming up at some point if you're looking inward? But often I find that when those people that I don't feel are very connected start talking about meditation, I do hear something where they're framing it more as a skill. They're framing it more as an accessory to their life, something that they've learned to do and not just a simple act of connecting with what they already are, of just being who they are. So it's become something more sophisticated and less essential. It's also, we're just connecting to what we are, to the most basic experience of being when we meditate. And because it's so essential, meditation is not the only way to reach that self. So we're all on some level connected to that deeper self because it is just what we are. We may not be deeply conscious of that self, so we may not have deepened self-discovery, may not have come to an active experience of that deep self that we are. But we are that deep self, and if we do anything that makes us feel connected, it could be creating something, maybe art, maybe a business that comes out in a really inspired way. It could be connecting to people, connecting to children, connecting to someone you're taking care of, all sorts of things that sort of bring that life, that sense of aliveness and presence, just something very meaningful and alive into our day. We are doing the same thing that we're doing when we meditate. So it's not important necessarily to have a practice of meditation. That's one way of reaching the self. And because it's so intentional and so minimalist in its focus, all you're trying to do is just do nothing and allow that basic self to arise. Because it's so minimalist in that sense, I think it is a very direct way of coming to that deeper self experience. But it's certainly not the only way. And some people are born, I would say, with a deepened consciousness. Some people are born just sort of more deeply aware than other people. So maybe they've never practiced meditation or are not even explicitly looking to deepen their connectedness, but already sort of have an intuitive sense of these things. It's also possible for somebody to be meditating in a very connected way, but be coming from a very fragmented and difficult place. Maybe they went through a lot of trauma. Maybe they were in an extremely disconnected state that led them to a crisis, and they have started meditating, and they're on a genuine sort of inward path. There is something arising, but they're still in a state of significant fragmentation and confusion. So, I mean, obviously, people are people. It is a massive organic spread of different states and behaviors, and it's not a, there's not a one size fits all here. It's a pretty nuanced situation when you're talking about people and their basic state of inward connectedness. So there's not one easy answer, but there's lots of different ways that people could be connected and disconnected. And I think as you consider your own practice, just remember that you're looking towards a very simple experience of being, of something that feels alive, something that feels essential, present. You're not getting anywhere, you're not achieving anything. So I've said this in other videos, but as you meditate, remember that simple, essential focus. You're not trying to become something special that you're not already. You're just deepening the awareness of the beautiful consciousness, the life that you already are, that everybody already is, that everything already is. And with that intention, I think it's more natural that that connectedness deepens, and you're less likely to lose yourself in skills and mental disciplines and maybe contrived forms of meditation that don't really reach that simple spiritual root that you are.